Hi and welcome to the Reneeded Roads podcast, and while there are plenty of worse places to be than the Old West, I could have ended up in the Dark Ages. They would have probably burned me at the stake as a heretic or something. Speaking of heretics, here's my co-host David Long.
Hey. Am I a heretic?
I don't know, probably. David, are you going to introduce our guest for this episode?
We have, again, Charlie Gallagher joining us, who joined us on the last episode. Charlie, how are you?
Again, don't say it like that. Like it's like I won't leave you lot alone. Like I'm bullying you to come along. But thank you for inviting me. It's an absolute honour and a pleasure again to be 2 in a row. I think that must be a first, is it, for a guest?
Yeah, this is, well, you've already broken a record because this is your 4th time guesting with us. And so, David, you're going to have to get him a gift or something for his 5th appearance.
How comes I've got to get him a gift?
Well, I mean,
I'll happily get Charlie a gift. He's gifted me loads of stuff. My partner's finished your 2nd book and she loved it as well. What's on the horizon, Charlie?
Well, I've just finished. I've got two in the bag ready to go, which are the next 2 in the Maddie Ives series. They'll be books numbers 7 and 8. They haven't got a title or anything as yet, so I'm not here to plug anything. Just to have a lovely chat with you good people about what's on telly at the moment. But so there's two in the bag, and I'll be starting another one on Friday.
Lovely jubbly. It was, honestly, you have no idea how happy I was when I came across 3 of your books in a charity store. I was like the golden find ever.
Mixed emotions about that. I mean, it's lovely to see they're out and about in the wild.
They were well worn. They'd been loved.
Yeah, it's nice to see them out and about, but it's also, I'm aware that you probably bought them for 20 pence each. But that's fine. Well done. Thank you for that.
Given to charity.
Well, in this episode, we're going to have a short, non-spoiler review of Jurassic World Dominion, which I literally saw, the night before I recorded this, and Alex Garland's Men. And before we get to those, we're actually going to dive headfirst. Actually, headfirst is probably not the best term when discussing the first few minutes of Season 3 of Prime Video's The Boys. And we're also going to be taking a look at Apple TV's spy comedy drama starring Gary Oldman, Slow Horses. But first up, a bit of news. News. The Gruesome Twosome are back on June 23rd in the States at least. David, Earth gets smarter. Why does Earth get smarter? Well, it could be because Beavis and Butthead have left the planet to do the universe. Yep, Mike Judge's 2 perennial teenage metalheads, Beavis and Butthead, are back for a new movie on Paramount+. Have either of you seen the trailer? And in fact, do either of you care?
Sorry, guys, I had to run out then.
No worries.
Apologies. The tortoise was kicking off. It was all going wrong here.
The tortoise was kicking off.
Yes, long story. He hasn't been fed this morning because I haven't had a chance. Everyone else has. So what he does is he scrapes down the side of his tank and then starts knocking on it. And it's you'll definitely be able to hear it. He's quite aggressive, bless him, when he's hungry, which we can all relate to.
I've never heard of a tortoise kicking off.
Really? David, you don't have a tortoise in that case.
I don't. I'm just imagining his little slow head just being like, donk.
Well, David, just be thankful it's not on V, because we're going to talk about some super-powered hamsters later when we get to The Boys.
Oh, goodness, yes.
I was just mentioning that Beavis and Butthead is coming back for a new movie, and have either of you seen the trailer? And in fact, do either of you actually care?
Beavis and Butthead feels like a part of my teenage years that have remained there, and I'm not sure how that will work as an adult, but I'm up for it. I'm up for giving it a go and feeling a bit silly for an hour and a half, however long it's on. So yeah, I'm here for that for sure.
Excellent. And David, I believe you said you wasn't a fan of Beavis and Butthead.
I hate everything to do with it now. It is.
Why?
Well, it's that. It's that kind of. It was that. Like all the bullies that I had at school loved it, and all those pricks that weren't nice to me, and it's like the disgusting kind of humor and like sort of kids stuff that I fucking hated. I'm not a fan that this movie's being made. I mean, I hope for your sake that it's good, so you enjoy it, and that's lovely for you. But,
let's delve into that. So you're not a fan of Beavis and Butthead because people who used to bully you at school were Beavis and Butthead fans?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty valid reason to not like something.
I think that's a good enough reason. Well, I think what used to make the original funny wasn't the adventures of Beavis and Butthead, right? Which is, the story stuff that Mike Judge wrote. I used to think the best part of them was them sitting there ripping the piss out of all the music videos on MTV, back when MTV used to play music. Do you remember music on MTV, David? Or has it always been 16... Telly? Yeah, on MTV. Music television. That's actually what it stands for. Or is your experience of MTV just 16 and Pregnant and Geordie Shore?
It's only from what I saw in Hot Tub Time Machine.
Fair enough. Well, look, they made the first film back in the day, and I don't think the characters really even lent themselves to a full-length movie back then. Like I say, I think Beavis and Butthead works with the little comedy skits and then them taking the piss out of modern-day music at the time. They actually had a rebirth of sorts on MTV back in 2011, and sadly it only lasted one season. I actually kind of think the 2011 season, though, was kind of genius, because with MTV not playing music anymore, what were Beavis and Butthead going to talk about on the couch? Well, they decided to take the piss out of whatever shitty reality TV show that was on MTV at the time. Corporate synergy at its finest. I bet MTV thought, great, we can promote our other shows on this one, then people might watch it. And I bet my judge thought, well, great, I can take the piss out of all these reality shows that I hate through the lens of Beavis and Butthead and get away with it. But this one is, again, it looks like Beavis and Butthead ending up in space, and it almost looks like a multiverse of madness, but with Beavis and Butthead. But yeah, I'll be watching this when it comes out, although I don't think it'll be near the top of my watch list for that week. It'll be something that I kind of catch up with when I get a chance. Oh, and in frankly hilarious news, my worst film of the year, Morbius, was re-released into cinemas this past weekend in America because of all the It's Morbin Time memes on social media. With Jared Leto himself even getting on the joke and posting a video of him with a fake, and please be fake, script for Morbius 2 titled It's Morbin Time. Well, with the massive amount of online chatter, Sony thought, hey, you know what, let's cash in. Perhaps it didn't do as badly as we thought. And they've re-released Morbius into the cinemas. And do we want to hazard a guess at how much money it made?
18,000.
You had one number right. A paltry 85,000. So it didn't even get to six figures.
That's just a little embarrassing, isn't it? It worries me that that Jared Leto's aware of the memes, but might not be understanding it.
I think it's exactly what happened there, mate. He's like, "Oh, everyone's talking about my film. Awesome." No, it was everyone taking the piss out of it, and somehow he thought it. I mean, I think the fact when Jared Leto's doing Morbing Time jokes, that's just no. The joke's dead now. Stop it.
Yeah. I guess
Killed it.
If anything, if he was being pissed off by it, that's a good way of getting people to stop, I suppose.
Look, man, for me, Morbius, it was boring. It felt like a holdover from the early 2000s in which it had terrible CGI, the script was terrible, and it just felt really dated. I only wish that this, another cock-up, would stop Sony from getting their terrible Marvel-adjacent films out. Because as I mentioned in our previous podcast, honestly, at this point, they are damaging the real MCU films because the average filmgoer doesn't know the difference between a Sony Marvel film and an MCU film, which have a massive difference in quality. Basically, if Kevin Feige, the Uber producer of Marvel's involved, it's usually brilliant. If he's not involved, it's usually pretty terrible. So please, Sony, please, no Morbius 2. And next up, we're going to talk a trailer. Now, this is a trailer for a film called The Menu that I'd never even heard of that dropped recently. And it's a very unsettling film by the looks of things that I knew nothing about, starring Ralph Fiennes as a top chef who invites a group of people to his restaurant for a dinner they'll never forget. The synopsis actually says, young couple Margot and Tyler travel to a remote island to eat at Hawthorne, an exclusive restaurant run by celebrity chef Slowick, who has prepared a lavish molecular gastronomy menu where food is treated as conceptual art. But his approach to cuisine has some shocking surprises for the wealthy guests. Yeah. Anya Taylor-Joy co-stars as one of the invitees who seems early to twig on that something is wrong with this restaurant. We do get lots of fast cuts, and I'm fairly certain that this film is going to descend into the horror fairly quickly, and also that most of the cast and guests do seem quite unlikable, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be on the menu. I think it's fair to say that if you utter the phrase, "We're eating the ocean," you deserve to die horribly. Taylor-Joy seems to be on a night out with her partner, played douchily by Nicholas Hoult, who actually begins crying over his meal, much to her apparent disgust. And this is the feature film debut of TV director Mark Mylod, who began in the UK with The Royal Family back in the day. And then he's moved to the States and he's directed loads of HBO shows like Entourage, Game of Thrones, one of your favourites, Charlie. He directed Shameless. And most recently, he's garnered acclaim for being one of the main directors on Succession. Well, has this film whetted your appetites? Everyone likes rich idiots getting massively traumatised and murdered. And I did wonder, though, looking at this, do you reckon Taylor-Joy's character might be related to Fiennes' character, purely because in one bit in the trailer he says to her, "You shouldn't be here tonight." I am massively intrigued by this one. What did you think, Charlie?
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks very intriguing. I got proper servant vibes from it. You remember, the Apple TV with the chef scenes where the way that you prepare food can suggest malice in other areas of the show. So, which was a great show. So that's good. And I think that also The Hunt, the Netflix film, sort of cross those two, Servant and The Hunt. And I think it, to me, is what it would. It looks like it's going to be. And I think. I'm looking forward to it. I certainly would give that one a go. It looks quite moody, which I do like.
Yeah, I echo all of that. It looks like it's just going to turn into a cannibalistic hunt film, hunting down them for some cannibalistic menu that they're going to be producing. I think this place would be completely lost on me if I actually attended, because I would know the difference between a nice meal that this man's creating and something that I get at a regular restaurant. So, like when Nicholas Holt's character's crying over a dish, like, come on, dude, come on, like, what is this?
I think food snobbery is a decent jumping off point as well for victims, and because everyone hates food snobbery, don't they? Let's be honest.
It's a good it's a good way to kill people off, and you enjoy it for sure.
Yes.
And I think with the director Mark Mylod making his name a Succession, that show is just about rich people being arseholes to people, and so it almost feels like definitely in his wheelhouse, this kind of thing. I did. It kind of got that, that A24 horror vibe, David. I kind of got that. It kind of gave me that. Oh yeah, this is going to be one of those.
100%. Yeah, it is.
Things that's right up our alley.
I was just going to say, I want to know how Anna Taylor-Joy's there, because she said he's there with her partner, but she seems to not know him. So it's almost like she's sort of turned up as like a blind date or something.
Well, it says in the official synopsis on Wikipedia that young couple Margot and Tyler, and that's and that's Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Holt's characters. It might just be she doesn't like him. Perhaps he's just. I mean, come on, he's crying about his dinner. We're eating the ocean.
I know. I worry for the two goats as well that we see. I don't think those two goats are going to have a happy ending.
I think the goats might do better than some of the people, to be fair, man. So that is the menu, and I don't actually know when it's coming out, but hopefully it's going to be later this year.
Expected November 18th.
Oh, well done with the research there, David. My brain is jelly because the night before we recorded this, I went to see Jurassic World Dominion, and I didn't get in until 20 to 1 in the morning, because it was a lot longer and later than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to give you my quick non-spoiler thoughts about the dino action in the long-delayed Jurassic World Dominion. Directed by Colin Trevorrow, starring Chris Pratt and Jessica Chastain, but also it brings back fully for the first time the OG trilogy cast of Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern and Sam Neill. Now, advance word on this film from the critics, at least in the past few days, has been pretty bad, with many saying it was the worst of the trilogy and possibly the worst of all 6 films, which sounds, not good. Indeed, a little story behind the scenes was, the Netflix comedy The Bubble, about a film being made during COVID with loads of diva behaviours by actor and the studio just ploughing ahead to get anything released. I think you saw that recently, didn't you, Charlie? Well, that film apparently was based on stories coming out of the Jurassic World Dominion set.
Right, yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Basically, was it any good? Was it a T-Rex experience, or was it like finding your phone in dinosaur poop? Well, good news for me, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as the reviews suggest. And Trevorrow here has almost done a Rise of Skywalker to fold back in all the story points he set up in Jurassic World 1 before he handed over Fallen Kingdom to J.A. Bernera. You've got Campbell Scott playing a great tech billionaire guy who clearly, is going to be the bad guy. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard still have absolutely no chemistry, but there's some really good new additions to the cast. You've got DeWanda Wise plays a pilot character called Kayla, who does really well with very little, and Mamazu Kaffee is great as Ramsey Cole, who's one of the guys who works at the tech company. But let's face it, we're all here to see the return of the original 3 lead characters, Dr. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, Laura Dern's Ellie Stadler, and of course Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm, who had a brief cameo in the last film. Well, the good news is, Alan and Ellie are in the film early on, and it's much more than an extended cameo for them. They are main characters in the film. It's not they turn up for a couple of scenes in the film and that's it, like what a lot of other legacy sequels have done recently. What is great here is that they are pretty much in it. And you know what? As you cut between the scenes, you got the Chastain and Pratt scenes, and you're like, yeah. But then you want to get back to the original guys because they're just better. They're just so much better. And, honestly, what do people want from a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World film? They're all the same anyway. You have bad scientists, good scientists, dinosaurs escape, social commentary about saving the planet, and a T-Rex usually helping out our main characters by fighting another big dinosaur near the end of the film. This film was perfectly fine if you ignore the fact that Pratt and Dallas had absolutely no chemistry, and Pratt probably had more chemistry with one of the dinosaurs than he did with his supposed love interest.
Was it Blue? Did he get a bit too comfortable with Blue?
It got a bit blue.
Did it get a bit weird?
It didn't get that weird because, it's a kid's dinosaur film. But yeah, it was fine, man. It was absolutely fine. I don't think it was nowhere near as bad as people were making out.
No, that's good.
And you'll enjoy it, David, because I know Jurassic Park's one of your favourite films. So yeah, you'll be quite happy with this. Don't look at the basics of the storyline and the scripting. The script isn't very good. The story, but you know what? It ticks off all the things you'd expect from a Jurassic Park film, man. Now, also recently, I had, pleasure's not the right word, so let's just say experience of watching Alex Garland's latest film, Men, the other week. So what can we say about Men? Well, it's a folk horror. It's another A24 film, David, so it's kind of got that, kind of what you're getting into. Mm-hmm. And it's about a woman called Harper, played by the always great Jessie Buckley, getting away for a quiet country house retreat as she works through the death of her husband James, played by Papa Isiadu. Upon getting to the cottage, she meets Jeffrey, the friendly owner of the property, played by Rory Kinnear, who seems pleasant enough, and then the weirdness begins. Now, as this is a non-spoiler review, I'm not going to get into many plot specifics, but we do quickly learn, and this is in the trailer, that every single man we see in the film, in the village, is played by Kinnear. From the boy with the mask, to the policeman, to the creepy priest, they're all Rory Kinnear. Even a strange naked man roaming the woods, all Kinnear. I think Garland has always been a bit of a Marmite filmmaker in that you either love or hate his films, and with Men, the whole film is subtext and folk allegory anyway. Harper eats an apple in a garden on the way in, and she gets told off. No, mustn't do that, forbidden fruit and all that. And there is just enough of an uncomfortable pause before he laughs and jokes about it. One central caveat that I found is that Buckley's character doesn't seem to notice that all the men in the village are variations on Kinnear. Positives though, the cinematography is absolutely amazing by cinematographer Rob Hardy, and the performances are really good by Buckley and Kinnear. However, the big issue of the film is the ending, which goes to some frankly bizarre places that left most of the audience in my screening, including myself, scratching their heads. I'm not totally sure the film achieves what it sets out to do, because at the end of the film I was just sat there thinking, I don't get it. What was the point? And unlike similar films like Midsommar and Hereditary that have balls-out crazy endings, we understand what happens in those films, and we get some closure on a narrative at least. They have definitive endings. Here it just gets weird. And yes, look, we know the point of the film is supposed to be about toxic masculinity and gaslighting, but man, that last 10 minutes or so, it's definitely a weird curio of a film it's worth seeing, but I wouldn't watch it with the rest of your family or people who are slightly squeamish. But like I say, it's got some great performances, but narratively for me, it just doesn't quite work. So I don't think it holds up to Garland's best work, like Ex Machina and even Annihilation.
Rory Kinnear must have fucking loved that like all the different characters and performances he has to throw in as an actor. That must
I've read a few reviews. I've read a few interviews with him and listened to a few pods, and he said that's mainly the reason he signed on, was that he got to play so many different variations on a character. It's kind of got a bit of the Green Knight to it, but even the Green Knight makes more sense than this, mate. So that's what I mean. It's just kind of, you're watching it going, well, why? What was the point of that? And yeah, like it goes super squeamish towards the end. So now in our spoiler section of the episode, we're going to get on to a show, probably one of our favourite shows of the year, I think, from I know for me and Charlie definitely, and we'll see about you in a minute, David, but that is Slow Horses, which debuted a few months ago on Apple TV+, and it is an action-filled spy comedy drama that manages to do all three genres in perfect synchronicity, and is based on a series of novels by author Nick Herron. And having a quick look at his bibliography, he's got kind of a similar path to yourself, Charlie. He began his career with a series based on an Oxford detective called Zoe Bone, of which there were 4 books in the series, and then he started the Slough House, aka Jackson Lamb series, with Slow Horses in 2010. He's now up to the 11th book in this series, with this year's book called Bad Actors. And ironically, for what is definitely a well-known book now, thanks to the show, Herron's UK publishers declined to publish the second book after Slow Horses, called Dead Lions, because of poor sales. Thankfully, his US publisher kept releasing the series, and then in 2015 he got another UK publisher, so happy days.
Yeah, I mean, ups and downs, that can sum up the publishing as a world. I mean, great books and great sales don't always go together, and that's not just true of publishing, of course. That's true of other industries in the creative industry, certainly. But yeah, I mean, it's found its audience, and it absolutely deserves to. I mean, you mentioned about favourite TV show. It is my favourite of the year so far, probably by some distance. I think it starts stronger than it ends. That's not to say the ending is bad, but I just think that the Gary Oldman shock value when you first meet him is incredible. I'm not saying it wears off too much, but the first time you see him, he's just incredible, and I think he makes the show. The casting in general actually is fantastic. I think Jack Loudon as River is a really decent lead, but everyone's great, even the sort of the bit parts. I was a little distracted by, is it Brian Vernal, the guy who plays the sort of the baddie, the lead baddie, and he's playing the exact same character as I've seen him before in The Tunnel. It's like they've just superimposed him over. That's not his fault, it's my issue, but and he was great in both, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, just a really good show that ticks so many boxes. It's funny, it's shocking, and it's gripping as well. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the basic setup of the show, for people who haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it while you're listening to the spoilers one on it, but if you have, then clearly, if you haven't, go and watch it. If you have, we're going to tell you what we think's great about it. And it is that Gary Oldman's Jackson Lamb is head of an MI5 department called Slough House, who are internally within MI5 known as the Slow Horses, as they are the branch where all the agents who have basically severely fucked up get sent. And the show opens with Jack Loudon's new agent, River Cartwright, massively screwing up a mission, which looks like it results in a massive terrorist incident across killing scores of people across London. And then it took me a little while in the first episode to realise, oh wait, it was a live training exercise. But even so, screwing up that badly was still enough to get Cartwright sent off to the Slow Horses. We find out that Cartwright's uncle, Uncle David, is played by the legendary Jonathan Pryce, and he used to work with Lamb and was definitely high up, or maybe still is, with the agency. So, I mean, already the show has a great original hook in that every character we meet at Slough House, they're most likely there for a negative reason. We meet Saskia Reeves' Catherine Standish, who is the Slough House admin person and recovering alcoholic. You got sarcastic computer expert Roddy Ho, who's there just because he's such an obnoxious twat. And then you got your Louisa, Min, Loy, and Sid rounding out the Slough House team. And the basic setup for the series is that Slough House get involved in a false flag mission organised by the Deputy Director General of MI5, Diana Taverner, played with icily cool by Kristen Scott Thomas. She manipulates a right-wing terrorist group called the Sons of Albion to kidnap and threaten to kill a young Muslim comedian called Hassan Ahmed. The plan goes wrong when MI5's man on the inside, Alan Black, is killed by the unstable Curly, and they go on the run with both MI5 and Slough House after them. And as I've mentioned before, what makes this show work is that it just perfectly combines comedy, action and drama. Gary Oldman completely sends up his more well-known spy roles from films such as Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with his note-perfect Jackson Lamb. He's a vociferous old drunk who never has a good word to say about anyone on the team and seems to sleep on his couch in a booze-filled haze while seemingly doing as little as possible. But as the show progresses, there are enough hints that Lamb actually may be one of the best agents out there, despite farting himself awake in one of the episodes. I thought the show pulled a massive Line of Duty style twist at the end of episode 2 when Sid gets shot in the head, which I don't think anyone saw coming, purely because the actress playing Sydney, Olivia Cook, was, you expect her to be one of the leads of the show. They set up the early brief flirtation between her and River's character, and within Slough House, she was seen as the most competent agent. So immediately you're thinking, okay, well, if they're all crap, why is she good and what's she there for? And in the scene before she gets shot, she tells River she was placed in Slough House to keep an eye on him. And of course, we never get any closure to that as she gets shot. But for the rest of the series, Sid's in hospital, and then we are told that she's passed away off camera. But in the last episode, Roddy does a bit of digging and finds that all traces of her existence have been wiped from all records, hinting that she might still be around. However, with Olivia Cook also being cast in the lead role in the new Game of Thrones spin-off show, House of the Dragon, I do wonder how much more of her we'll see. We'll see going forward. What did you guys think about that? I thought that was a brilliant twist at the end of episode 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It's not something you saw coming. She was establishing herself as being a main character and a great character as well. She was superb. As like I said, I mean everybody is in it, and yeah, that kind of come from nowhere really. And it did make for the ending interesting because you expect that I think there's a season 2 already commissioned, to be honest with you, which means yeah, there's stuff to pick up on when the TV show comes back.
I think season 2, one of the like the best, well, nice surprises at the end of the show was that they showed a trailer for it.
Yes, of course they did.
Season
Yeah, they
2,
did.
like right at the end of that season, I was just like, oh, brilliant! We're getting another one straight away, and here's the teaser for it. And it's teased that she's still alive as well, isn't it? Because he's seeing her and hunting for her or searching for her.
Yeah, season 2 apparently was filmed secretly back to back with season 1, and it's all been filmed already and is in post production and will be with us later this year. So we're actually going to get 2 seasons of the show in 1 year. And even more good news, because Apple have confirmed seasons 3 and 4 have already been commissioned. So I think we're going to be spending a lot more time at Slough House over the next few years.
Slough House.
Slough House. Slough House over the next few years. Yeah, I think Jack Loudon gets to give good action hero in training as his character River Cartwright, because we can see him handle the action scenes quite well, but also he's quite clever. And in fact, he's that good at his job that it was his trailing of Scott Thomas's Diana Taverner on one of her clandestine meetings that gets his career scuppered in the first place, because he tracks her without him knowing, and that's why he gets fed the wrong information on the day of the original training exercise, and why he gets put off at Slough House. In a reveal, I think that we all saw coming, though, in short flashbacks throughout the show, we find out that back in the day, Lamb killed Standish's partner Charles years ago and made it look like a suicide under the order of River's grandfather, David, played by Jonathan Pryce, because he was being blackmailed by a foreign power. I mean, I think we all saw that coming a mile away, right? Whenever we saw these flashbacks, it was like, oh yeah, Oldman killed the guy, right? And that's why he won't tell.
Yes, definitely. That was always coming. It didn't make it any worse when it did, though, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think sometimes if you telegraph something, but tell it in the right way, the audience is almost like, yes. So that sets them up on a collision course, later on. And what I like is, in their own way, everyone on the team, except for perhaps Louisa and Min. I mean, Min does seem a bit useless. I think everyone by them are really competent. They've made that one mistake that's put them in Slough House. But Standish, when she pulled the gun in the car, was brilliant. I didn't see that coming. Roddy, who's absolutely he's shit hot at his tech thing, but like you say, he's so annoying. No one else wanted to work with him. Min ended up at Slough House because he left top secret files on a train, and just his really awkward flirtation with Louisa is funny as well.
I made the mistake, because I put this... we watched the show. Natasha really wanted to watch the show because it's right up her street. I made the mistake of not paying full attention to the first episode. So when they killed the person in the staircase, that was the person that shot Sid, I think. Yeah, it was. Who was that?
That was Loy, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know. I'm asking. I'm genuinely asking, because I was watching that and I was just like, oh shit, I probably should have paid a bit more attention, because I don't know who this character is now and what's the big deal about it being them that's doing this and why that that was a mistake on my part. But
I think it's one of these shows, David, you do have to pay attention to.
Properly. That was like I said, I dropped the ball there and I couldn't just go back and rewatch the episode, so I just was carried on from there.
I think if I had one negative in the show, and I think you touched on this a bit, Charlie, is that the white supremacist bad guys, I don't know, it seems to be the in thing at the moment in a lot of shows, like, who are the villains? They're white supremacists. And not because, they are out there and they are dicks who deserve to be vilified, but I think the actors playing them, their performances were a bit variable. You look at how good the people at MI5 and Slough House are, and then these guys were your typical kind of, and I suppose they're playing that part of, the white supremacist well. That's what they are like.
What other shows have had white supremacists as the villains?
There was the recent ITV drama, the Bomb Squad one with Vicky McClure, and it was exactly the same thing. And yeah, it wasn't great there again. And it was a whole thing that white supremacists were trying to bomb a mosque and things like that. And she was the worst bomb disposal expert, because in every episode something got blown up. So, terrible show. Terrible. The bad guys only really crossed paths with the Slough House team at the end of the series when they have the big shootout. And I don't know, I kind of got to the stage when I was watching it a few episodes in and was like, I just want to be with Oldman's character and the MI5 ones. As much as, all the stuff in the van with the like the Sons of Albion, it was okay. But like you said, the guy, he was good at what he did, but it was a bit one note. I mean, it was a nice little twist where he chopped the other guy's head off, because the way they played it, you kept thinking they kept thinking someone else was the mole.
Yeah, and then shot that bloke in the car as well. The other one.
Yeah.
If you was that other member, that fourth member that was also there, that got. I can't remember what happened to him. Actually, he probably died at some point.
They all died.
Yeah. At that point, you'd have just been like, "Oh, fuck this, I'm dipping," and duck and roll out the car. Anyway.
Yeah. So, anything else to say on Slow Horses, guys, or I'll just round it off?
No, I don't think so. Not from me. I mean, like I said, I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of the best things. I can't wait. I'm nice to see that, or to hear that it's coming back for season 2 later this year. That's unusual, but I'll take that.
Yeah, season 2 later this year, and season 3 and 4 commissioned. So that's great. I mean, if the guy's got 11 books, then happy days. I suppose it's as long as Gary Oldman wants to keep doing it, right?
100%. I think you guys probably preferred it a little bit more than I did, but that's probably because I was dumbass and didn't pay attention to it straight away. And then when it started to get really good, like that 2, 3, second and third episode, I was already a bit lost with what was happening with characters and who, like, some of the motives and like who, the corruption that's happening at MI5. So I was already a bit that, but that's my fault. That's not the show's fault.
Well, what I will warn you is, David, in an upcoming episode, we're going to be talking about a new show called We Own This City, which is a new cop drama from the David Simon, the writer of The Wire. And if you even look at your phone for a second in that, you can lose what's going on, because there's so many time jumps between different parts of this character that you learn in the show that, honestly, I saw one of the few shows I've watched this year so far where I've not been able to look away from the screen even once in it. I've not looked at my phone once in any of those 6 episodes. And it reminded me of The Wire in that when you watch The Wire, you're like, I have to really concentrate on this because it doesn't spoon feed you. You have to pay attention to everything, because it's one of these shows is like, they just drop you in and they don't explain everything, and you just have to catch up with it and follow it. And because of that, you have to concentrate a lot more. But it's so much rewarding when they do that and they get it right.
Oh, well, wait! I want to know real quick if Charlie's got any of these scripts on the go, any sort of Slough House style cop dramas, but as a script.
TV show. No, not as it stands, but I'm definitely considering stealing Jackson Lamb or a version of him for future books. But no, I mean, I'm
maybe don't admit to it though.
Books, and what happens is that if it was to, interest would come in from a TV company, for example, then that they generally like to write the scripts themselves. They what they call adapt it for television. If they want me to do that, I'm very happy to do so. But at the moment, I'm sticking to writing the series. There is an idea for a psychological thriller, which will be a script, straight to script, rather than a book, which we've already talked about with the agent. So that might be something for future. But for the moment, it's a different skill, and I've got a lot of respect for people that adapt stuff for television, because it's a different way of telling a story and a different way of thinking about it.
So you're saying watch this space. That's what I'm hearing. Especially that psychological thriller.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, always watch. I mean, obviously, it's what I do full time, so I'm always trying to do something. The next thing is, like I say, I've got two books finished, and I'll be starting another one on Friday, and we've not even started the edit process. So you're always sort of 2 or 3 projects ahead, and of course, scripting is something I'd love to get into. So we'll never rule it out.
Well, and I think what we need as well, mate, as we said, we need to start the Charlie Gallagher cinematic universe with getting the. I mean, Netflix, just, give the man the money now, right? You can have your Maddie Ives series, and then you can do your George Elm series, and then you can have the inevitable crossovers,
point. Do all your books take place in the same, universe as in your characters will cross each other at some point?
Well, I mean, they've not... the Joel Norris series, which was the last one I did, I've stolen some of the characters and moved over to the Maddie Ives series. So absolutely, there's a little bit of cross-pollination, as there would be as there is in a police force, of course. Major crime, for example, will go where they're needed. So if a murder occurs in the north of the county and they're based in the south, they'll go and help out, because it requires a lot of resources. So policing is very much like that. Everyone works everywhere across the county because the resources are so low. You're moved where you're needed. There's no way you could base what I've done 3 series in the same county and not have them crossing over in some way. So they absolutely do. Sometimes people notice, sometimes they don't, because it can be a bit of a cameo. But I've just recently, the last two have got a major character move from Joel Norris series into the Maddie Ives series, so people will certainly notice that if they've read the other. It's good fun too. I like doing it. It's because you've already got an established character as well. You can bring them over, and it's easier, and it's also it's a lot of fun, sort of making them a major part of a different series, if you like, working with different personalities. I really enjoy that.
Awesome, man. Yeah, like I say, I think it's only a matter of time before we, what are the most popular TV shows in, UK and worldwide? And it's always police, lawyer, medical. It's always those kind of three things are the bread and butter. And I mean,
yes,
it's funny because I was never really sort of a fan of like the police procedurals kind of stuff, and yet in the last couple of years, I suppose it's probably Line of Duty actually that kind of got me back into it. And it's funny because we've discussed that before, and you're not as much of a fan of it. But since then, there's been some really good sort of crime thrillers, like UK-based ones out there.
There have. I mean, what crime is a massive genre, and what crime does is sort of push people to the sort of the furthest reaches of their emotions. They're most angry, they're most sad, whatever. And what you can do within that guideline of a crime novel is tell some really incredible stories. The crime doesn't even have to be the main element. And recently, I know we've talked about it before, but the Responder was a UK one with a UK cop who was basically having a bit of a mental breakdown. And that was kind of the main leading part of the story. And it was really well done. And the crimes he was investigating almost didn't matter at times. It was about the people within that scenario having a story, if that makes sense. So you can use crime as your sort of your general field, but within that you can tell some incredible stories. I think it's a great genre. I love it.
And I'm not sure if you know this, but do you know the Responder is coming back for a second series?
Yes, I heard. I follow the fellow that wrote it, Tony Schumacher, on Twitter, and I've seen he's been quite active in talking about the new series. I'm certainly not surprised. I mean, it lends itself very well to a long running series. I would suggest, because a response officer has a different story every day, potentially every call. So I could see that running, and it was extremely well done. I only hope that Martin Freeman stays on, because he was superb.
I think he will. I think when the old TV BAFTAs and that come out at the end of the year, I don't know how Freeman doesn't pick up all the awards for that show, because I thought that was his performance of. I thought that was a performance of his career there. I mean,
he's a
he was
very
brilliant in
underrated
Fargo.
actor, really, isn't he?
I think a lot of people probably didn't know much about him at all in the States until Fargo. And I mean, that was me. Like, I wasn't that big a fan of The Office and that his UK stuff over here. And when I saw that first series of Fargo with him and Billy Bob Thornton, I was sold, man, from there onwards.
He was Lord of the Rings, wasn't he? Was he Lord of the Rings?
His Hobbit, yeah.
That's got to be a big, big introduction.
Forgot about that completely, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about, that's the problem. I mean, Martin Freeman is incredible, and everyone knows it now, and you could see him, doing a Simon Pegg and disappearing off to Hollywood, and we'll lose him for shows like The Responder. I know he's back for the second one, so let's hope that.
It's actually quite a surprise that he did it in the first place, considering like off the back of The Hobbit, and he's been in Marvel, like Black Panther. And
it is. I totally agree. It's a big surprise, and also when you think of the amount of time he would have to invest in that role, 'cause he had to learn a whole new accent. I mean, that's not easy at all. It's not an easy accent to pick up, and he absolutely smashed it. And I hear he took quite some time, in the area, making sure that he got
like a year and a half, 2 years, wasn't it? I remember hearing. I mean, my old man like sort of said, he goes, the accent, he's got the accent spot on. So.
Spoiler alert! There's spoilers everywhere!
Okay, so finally in today's episode, we're going to talk everyone's favourite bunch of soup-killing foul-mouthed bastards are back in Season 3 of Prime Video's The Boys, based on Garth Ennis's classic graphic novel of the same name. At the end of the last season, it appeared like the boys had finally achieved some kind of victory against Volt and Homelander after teaming up to fight Stormfront when Ryan, basically Obi-Wan Stormfront, chopping off her arms and legs, and Maven Starlight blackmailing Homelander with the threat of releasing his airplane video from Season 1 if he went after them or anyone or stepped out of line. Ryan, though, unfortunately kills Becca, Butcher's wife, by accident, and the boys bundled off to live with Mallory. In the last shot, though, we find out that Huey's new boss, Victoria Newman, is actually the soup who's been exploding heads all season. So, Episode 1 takes place a year after the last season, with Huey and Annie's relationship now public knowledge, and she's even made co-captain of the Seven, much to Homelander's disgust. And even Butcher's been behaving himself, as most of the boys work for Huey and Newman at the Bureau of Superhero Affairs. But it's Maeve who kind of kicks the season into gear by floating the idea that there may be a weapon they can use to kill Homelander. And she sets Butcher off to find out about Payback, an older superhero team led by Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy. So think the boys' version of Captain America. We're also introduced to V24, vials of V that give the user superpowers but only for 24 hours, and to avoid issues like they're having, with Homelander. Huey witnesses Newman exploding someone's head who knew her from her previous life. So, we're back with the boys.
Can we just spend about 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, talking about that opening 15 minutes of the show?
Or what were you referring to, David?
Well, Neil. It made me feel quite uncomfortable to watch that opening like little fight with Termite, who the Ant-Man.
There was definitely an opening.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was full on. If there's ever a scene to explain to people what The Boys is, I think that's it. I think that's the scene where you've got the Ant-Man character Termite going really small and crawling up someone's penis whilst high on cocaine and ripping him apart accidentally. He did the whole. He did the Ant-Man up Thanos' butt, but changed it to a penis. And,
that's what we all thought, right? We all thought, he's going to go up his backside.
Yeah,
and no, he didn't.
They. He went up his Johnny.
I thought he had gone in the arse, right? And then this is the boys for me. This sums it up perfectly, because me and my wife found ourselves having a conversation as to whether he was in a man's arse or a man's penis, due to the fact that he was asked to go and find the prostate. And there was no other show in the world that could prompt that conversation between, a man and his wife.
We had the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah, we were like, because my partner was like, I thought the prostate was I thought your prostate was up your bum.
Yeah, see, I was team arse, and the wife was team penis, and she proved that to be right. Again, which is just a conversation no other TV program could.
I wonder how many couples had that conversation. If there's already been two,
Yes,
that was 100% The Boys to a T. If there's ever going to be a scene that sums up The Boys, I think that was it.
That scene ended with the Termite character covered in blood and gore, obviously, and this massively shocked expression on his face that he held, and there was a pause for a few seconds. And I wonder if every single living room around the country, around the world, had that same shocked expression as he did, maybe without the blood and the gore. I mean, what a way to open a new series.
I mean, and the fact that then Butcher throws him in small, tiny size into a bag of cocaine and just carries him around in that.
just shake him up, make him a bit high, yeah, so he can't grow big again or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that would have just outright killed him, that amount of cocaine. That was ridiculous, man. I think what they've done, because I've read the original comics through twice now, and they really do well at updating a lot of the storylines and characters to the modern day. And again, like any great TV show or movie, it uses the modern lens to highlight a particular issue. And obviously, the whole kind of idea of The Boys in the first place was, what if Superman was, a psychotic, murdering, rapist piece of shit, and no one could stop him? Well, someone would have to stop him, and the government puts together the team, The Boys. One thing this season does as well, which it brings in like the V24, and again, in the comic books, in the very first issue of the comics, Butcher injects Huey with V. And that, because again, you think every season, they only just survive their encounters with the superheroes, right? The boys, as great as they are at killing, and they have got Kimiko, who, can't really be killed much because she heals. She's kind of like Wolverine.
That's who she is. She's Wolverine.
Kind of, yeah, because she's...
Yeah, because I was trying... Cause you know how they ruled some other superhero, but...
well, the boys aren't really, are they? The boys aren't. It's more like the Supes are all based on...
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, all the superhero people are... Like, anyone that's got superheroes is basically another superhero that's from Marvel or DC or whatever. I was trying to work out what hers is. Like, she's Wolverine. That makes sense.
Did you like... I forget what episode. I think it's 1 or 2, where they have the Dawn of the Seven taking a piss out of Justice League.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. Release the Bork cut. I mean, anything that gets to take the piss out of the Snyder Bros as well, man, was brilliant. And what about the cameo? I've completely forgot the cameo at the start. Cameo Queen herself, Charlize Theron at the moment.
Oh yeah, yeah. Who did she play?
She played the movie version of Stormfront. Remember?
Yes,
In
yeah,
Dawn
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Seven.
yeah. Because she's yeah. No, I remember.
So much happens. You just can't with that show. I mean, every scene is jaw dropping, or it's just incredible. So much happens. I forgot entirely about Charlize Theron, but you're right. She was in the start.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I think her scene was before Termite, wasn't it, as well? Because it was literally the one.
The pace of the show is just on another level. If you think of everything that's happened in the show so far, we're only at the beginning of season 3.
It is an absolute juggernaut, isn't it? I mean, you're still recovering from the termite scene when you're on to the next. It's just unstoppable. I mean, from a storytelling point of view, it's quite incredible, really, because you have a central idea that you work around, and you have slow parts and quick parts. But The Boys doesn't. It kind of breaks all those rules. It's just one idea to the next, and shocking, and to write it, what a challenge.
I think the main showrunner, Eric Kripke, he's done a fantastic job adapting it because, like I say, some of the graphic novel stuff's a little bit dated, or some of the characters don't. A lot of the soups in the comic book are really one note. They're like one note jokes, and in here you get so much more characterization, even to the villains. And it's such shades of grey between some of the stuff the boys do is really. They would be the villains anywhere else, except for the people they're up against are absolute pieces of shit as well. And Kripke, he was most known for creating Supernatural, which ran for 15 years. But he checked out after the 5th season. But the story arc he set up in that first 5 seasons was nigh on perfect. It was brilliant. And of course, to tie in with the supernatural things, in this season, the main kind of storyline so far is the hunt for Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy being played by Jensen Ackles, who was Dean Winchester, one of the lead actors in Supernatural. And of course, one of the rumours at the time was, because of his Supernatural comic, that actor, Jensen Ackles, was actually up for Captain America and couldn't even get to the audition. He couldn't be considered for the role because he was stuck with his TV contract to Supernatural. So getting to play the boys' version of Captain America is kind of like an apology / thank you from the showrunner Kripke.
That's a nice little bit of movie trivia there, Neil.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah.
Yes.
So, right, I think this is where you need to duck out, David, because you're not up to date fully, and we're going to talk about the most recent stuff.
Okay, all right. I'm going to leave you to it.
We'll let you know when we're back.
Enjoy. I'll be here still. I'm just going to mute myself.
All right, is he gone?
Right, now David's gone. Right, Christ, David, man, where do we start?
There's only one word, isn't there? I mean, Timothy. What else?
Justice for Timothy.
About? Yeah.
R.I.P. Timothy, the Deep's friend and sex aid octopus who Homelander fed to him alive on rejoining the Seven. What was that? You messaged me when we was talking about it work with David, and you literally messaged it. What's that? He's got kids, or what's that? He's thinking about all the stuff he was coming out with. It was so funny, man.
The Deep, the actor that plays the Deep, he needs a new agent. Is all I can suggest, because the character arc for him, I mean, it's awful, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a character sort of worse portrayed, worse treated. He's just everyone's lackey. He's everyone's lapdog, and he has to do some of the most appalling things. He can't even have a sex scene without it becoming a joke. He really does. He needs a new agent. But again, he's such an integral part. I mean, he's obviously a bit of a comedic outlay for them when stuff's getting serious. But yes, superb. The whole thing's brilliant, and that seems terrible.
You wouldn't think a character like the Deep, who sexually assaults Starlight in the very first episode of the series, can be a character that people almost feel sympathy for. But again, you don't feel sympathy for him because he's tried to. That's what I like about the characterization of all the soups on the Seven. Homelander's such an absolute tyrant that you kind of start to feel sorry for the rest of them. But then they'll do something that, with the Deep, he got kicked off the team, he's in the middle of nowhere. There's that scene where he gets abused by that woman who jams her fingers in his gills in the previous season.
God,
and he's essentially kind of almost gets, attacked himself there. And in this one, he gets back on the Seven. He gets back on the team. and immediately he's just kissing up to Homelander and being an absolute little arsehole again, isn't he?
You're right, because the same with A-Train, who you can have some sympathy for the fact that his medical issues mean that he can't run anymore, and he's getting bullied as well, clearly. And then so you start feeling a bit sympathetic, and then they twist that round, and he stitches up the boys basically by revealing the plan to Homelander in the one I watched last night. And
in the most recent one, and he's responsible for getting Supersonic murdered quite quickly.
Yeah, so you just never know, and again, another strength of the show, really. You never know who's sort of allied with who, even people that you think you can trust. You can't. It's just like I said, it's a juggernaut. You never know where it's going. The only thing you can be certain of is that Homelander is ultimately going to be evil no matter what. He's always going to choose the path of the evil, no matter what the situation. And how superb is he? I mean, as a main sort
Anthony
of
Starr is amazing. I didn't realise that he's a Kiwi as well, because we all know
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, yeah. We all know Carl Urban as Butcher is a Kiwi, and I didn't realise for quite a while that Anthony Starr was as well.
I didn't know that.
I mean, he's again, cast him in everything after this as well, man, because they're both.
Yeah, and of course, last night as well, because I caught up with the last show was released, was the night of the dildo fight, shall we call it?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I know. I don't know where do you start talking about the boys and finish? I mean, just when you think you've seen it all, and obviously the opening scene is still being talked about, but you've got to talk about scenes like that as well. I mean, then there was Timothy, then there's the dildo fight. I don't know where they go from here.
And do you know what? I forgot in the dildo fight part that Kimiko can heal. So when she got shot in the head, I was like, I completely forgot at that point. I was like, holy shit. And then of course she comes out. And then, of course, it's brilliant because they set that up there where you're thinking, oh yeah, so she can't be hurt. And then, of course, when right at the end of the episode, when they unleash Soldier Boy from his Russian gulag tomb, and he blasts her with some energy, and whatever they've done, she's not healing. So,
which means that the weapon that can destroy Homelander is clearly going to be Soldier Boy, isn't it? Is that where they're going with that?
That's where they're going for it.
He can negate powers, I guess. Or certainly, that's what he appears to have done with Kimiko at this point, but obviously we're going to have to wait and see. So I guess that's where they're going with it, which I can see why that would be an excellent story to pursue. I mean, you've obviously read the comic book, so maybe you've got a bit more of an insight into that.
Well, no. See, in the comic books, Soldier Boy isn't that big a character. He's just like the villain of the week character in one of the episodes.
Oh, right.
He's not in it that much more. So there's quite a few. I mean, this episode had so many callbacks to the original comics, right? Because as I mentioned in the comics, when Huey first gets recruited to the boys, Butcher injects him with the V, and they go out on their first mission, and they're fighting some low-level superhero called some Irish superhero called the Blarney Cock, and Huey gets in a fight with him, and he punches right through him, exactly which is what he did in that scene in the new episode. Yeah. And the hamster they find, Jamie the hamster.
Oh, I forgot about the hamster. Goodness.
Yeah, the V'd up hamster. Well, in the comics, the Blarney Cock actually keeps Jamie somewhere where Richard Gere keeps hamsters, allegedly.
Oh, interesting.
And so when he kills him, he rescues the hamster in the comics. And he's not a V'd up hamster though in the comics, but he's Huey's pet hamster who literally lives with him in his flat in the comic book. So getting Jamie the hamster into it was good as well. With the octopus scene, you wouldn't believe this, Peter actually endorsed the boys for their octopus scene, for the CGI work, and mentioning about how sentient octopuses are. And as Deep tells Homelander, he has friends, he has a family.
Yeah.
And yeah, Pete, you think, the boys and Peter, oh no, what have they done to offend them? No, Peter came out and said what a positive representation it was. And I thought, are they taking the piss? Or are the boys, the creators of the boys actually taking the piss when, I suppose it's a good thing, but at the same time, it was funny, man.
It was funny, but I think also everyone was absolutely appalled, I guess. So I can kind of see the slant, but yeah, that's a strange one, that one.
Well, also of note is Black Noir, because we know he's a member of the Seven we know the least about. But in the flashbacks in Nicaragua, you see him with his helmet off, and you see him talking.
Yeah.
So, first of all, what happens to him over the course of the years that he wears the mask all the time and he stops
doesn't he
talking?
Get injured in that scene? Isn't that when he gets his face sort of burnt
Was
by
it?
an
Was it?
explosion.
Ah, okay. But I thought
Because he was reaching for his
helmet.
helmet, wasn't he, in that scene? And then obviously he gets his helmet back on, and then he's done a Darth Vader, isn't he?
Yeah, that's it. But again, this is a massive twist from the comics, because I'm not going to spoil it, but in the comics, quite late on, near the end of the story, in the original story, when he takes his helmet off, he's a completely different character from the one that the show said he is. So it's quite a different. It's a very different thing. So they're obviously not going down that path with the character, because there's no way back now, because they revealed who he was. So it can't be the same person unless, I don't know, they reveal there's a different Black Noel or something like that. But
yeah, maybe he died of his injuries, because you didn't see that, and then that someone else is in that suit with
in the
similar
mask, and they
abilities.
could have just replaced them, because they do that kind of things, don't they? We got to talk about Homelander at the end of episode 2, when he's just had enough of being threatened, and he just does his little rant on TV. I know, sorry, it's before TV, isn't it? He's having that rant. He's got that young girl on the roof who's thinking about jumping off. He finds out that Stormfront's committed suicide on his birthday, so no birthday hand job from the burn victim, and he's had enough, and he practically encourages the girl, and then she's like, actually, no, I don't want to jump now. And he's like, he basically intimidates her into killing herself in front of the waiting crowd. He's just had enough of being pushed around by Edgar, and then he goes on his rant about how much better he is than everyone else to close out the episode. And of course, you know what's going to happen knowing the boys. You know that's just going to make him more popular, and it does. And I love how they kind of dive into the Trumpism that, oh yeah, you're it's all about how popular you are with the general public in the superhero world, and that he's popular among rural white men. In other words, Trump supporters
in the Rust Belt. Yeah, that felt very contemporary, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'm also interested in the what's going to happen with Esposito's character, who's obviously the head of Voight and who gets dethroned by Homelander. And I thought it was going to be revealed that he had the ultimate superpowers, and that he was, because I didn't understand why they were all bowing down to him, Homelander in particular. So that'd be interesting to see where that goes, and if that is revealed later on that actually he does have some sort of ability.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because in the original, again, going back to the comics, the character that Elizabeth Shue played, Sitwell, in the first series, she doesn't die at that point in the comics. Sitwell is kind of like the Edgar character in the comics, if I'm remembering rightly. And she's in it a lot. Well, she's a he in the comics, and then so their relationship's completely different with Homelander, but it's kind of more like the Mr. Edgar relationship in the comics. So Sitwell is kind of Edgar in the comics, and obviously they changed it around and added in different characters and then kind of split them away into two different characters, as it were, in there. I did like the flashback of Nicaragua and seeing Payback in action and how just terrible they were, and how the mission was going pretty well, and then they turned up and absolutely ballsed it up. I did like the cockiness of Soldier Boy, and that was a brilliant portrayal. And he's kind of got that gruff old man vibe to him, even when he was younger, hasn't he? That he kind of seems out of touch of what's going on.
Even the way they did the cut. The flashback, and then when they stopped it all of a sudden at a really key moment, so they could come back to where Butcher Boy needed to go and be sick. Even stuff like that. It just keeps you constantly on edge. You never know what's going to happen. You never, it's just it's so well done. I really can't talk it up enough, to be honest. I know I said that Slow Horses is my best TV of the year by some way, but I think The Boys, if it carries on as is, this season's going to be right up there, really, as the other two were.
Yeah, I mean, getting on to the most recent episode, so we're, as we're recording this, we've just seen episode 4 of the season, and, I mean, that opening with the Soldier Boy on, like, some 80s, was it Solid Gold hits with Soldier Boy, doing, like, their version of Rapper's Delight, and it just shows you, one, it was brilliantly entertaining and funny and terrible, but at the same time, it shows you that Vault has always been about this corporate synergy stuff from day one, with exploiting all the superheroes. You've got Homelander going on TV, going full Trump on the Cameron Coleman show, blaming the media for everything. And then you've got Edgar's plan to go after Homelander and just his pure cockiness. Because I don't think we mentioned that it's revealed that Newman is like Edgar's surrogate daughter, and he took her from a home and has raised her as his own.
Yes.
And I think that's why he was always so cocky, because she was his insurance policy.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
I love how you've got this fake relationship now with Homelander and Starlight, Homelight, #Homelight. And you see that brief second where Huey tries to stand up to Homelander, doesn't he? And he just like looks at him, he like steps forward for like a brief second, and Homelander just goes, "Oh." A-Train's Black Lives Matter spoof was brilliant. That drink advert, do you remember? Well, that was Kylie Jenner did their piss take advert for Coke or Pepsi the other year, and that A-Train advert is exactly the same thing there. I just, because they're almost getting you back on Cybervane train. Like, okay, yeah, he's messed himself up with drugs, and now he can't do a superpower, otherwise he'll die. So he's trying to reinvent himself and go down the Black Panther route and try and be a positive African-American role model. But he's still full of shit on it, and his brother calls him on it, doesn't he? In one of the early ones. He's like, yeah, you don't believe in any of this stuff. And it's just for him to try and stay relevant. And like you say, he then goes and betrays Starlight and Supersonic. But again, what I like is you kind of see Butcher going darker, much darker this season. When he basically, in the last episode, he sends Kimiko off to do the mission for Nina, which, again, Frenchie didn't want him to have anything to do with. And that line where she says to him, "I'm not your fucking gun." And he's like, "You are." And I was like, wow, you're just, Butcher. And you're thinking then, because, Butcher, he sabotages his relationship with Ryan in the previous episode, but he's doing it to keep him safe and away from him. Because you see him starting to bond with the kid, and he's like, he can't have that because he thinks it makes him weak. And it's not like specifically explained 100%, but that's what you get from it. You go, no, he can't have any weaknesses. He can't have anything that can be used against him if he's going to take on Homelander. And so he does that to get him away from him. And he starts doing the same with the way he manages his team. Because you're thinking, he's just burning all his bridges here. Frenchie and Kimiko don't want anything to do with him after that scene. And they're already making their plans to leave. But then he has that scene with with Mother's Milk. And he says, look, and he kind of says, look, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing this to, get the right results. You know me. And he's almost right in a way.
Yeah, there are so many characters and so many stories going on all at once, and yet they managed to weave it together to the point where there's a central narrative still moving forward, and that is a proper talent. I'm incredibly impressed with the writing. I mean, chuck that in with the fact that the direction, the cast, the performances, everything just seems to be on point. It's just strength to strength, really.
I love I even a shout out to the delightful Colby Minifie, who plays Ashley, the assistant. She always looks terrified. But it's funny because even she's now kind of got a bit more power in this season than she had. You see her having sex with the director in the toilet in the first episode, and then she coercing the guy into sex in the most recent. And what's that line she says? Is your idiot brain getting fucked by stupid?
Yeah. Well, she copied that from Homeland, didn't she?
Yeah.
She's obviously powerful through him.
That she just parrots what Homelanders does. Again, we've mentioned the Deep being a massive arsehole, but he seems to be being puppeted by his wife. And there was a whole cult storyline from the last season. So I'm wondering where that's going to go as well. Because again, that isn't. I mean, the Deep's probably the biggest change from the comics because in the comics he wears a diving helmet all the time and you never see his face. So big difference to what we have here.
Yeah.
I was going to mention Frenchie as well in this one. I loved Toma Capon, the actor, because you see his performance in this one, and he's almost treated he's almost bullied he looks like an angry dog, doesn't he? The way he's being bullied first by Little Nina and then first by Butcher. Like the way he kind of he literally looks like a cowed dog in it. And I thought the performance was amazing in it. And then of course it all kind of ends up with V at the end. Huey nicks some and takes it, and that's not going to go well, isn't it? Because you can see that there's that shot of him just right with his arm out the window, clearly in a V high afterwards. And man, I can see that going wrong. I mean, he's got that kind of impotent rage that he can't do anything against Homelander. Now he can. So what's gonna happen when he tries to go against that Homelander with V now?
Yeah, so you can see that coming, can't you? You never sort of when you think you work out which way it's going, you never can. It's so twisted and turny. You've just got to sit and kind of let it happen, which is one of my favourite reasons to watch a show. Really, if you're constantly being caught out.
I think Edgar has got a plan because I think he is that confident that Homelander will screw up by himself. And I mean, that scene between Starr and Esposito was brilliant. Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Stan Edgar, he's always the master villain. I mean, come on, man. He's Gus Fring, the Chicken Man from Breaking Bad. I still wouldn't bet against him with Homelander. And as I say, we've seen kind of Butcher turning more and more to the dark side with that "you're my fucking gun" line. And, Huey emboldened after the events of the episode. I will just leave it there for now because I don't want to ruin stuff for David, who's 2 behind. But I will just say, yesterday, Season 4 has been confirmed by Amazon. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? But, you just give them as many seasons as you...
As of now?
I think it is a bigger show currently on, yeah.
Until Lord of the Rings, probably.
Yeah, and that's not long. Is that August, Lord of the Rings?
Soon,
or September?
Soon. But The Boys, I think at the moment, is their biggest pull. You know, taking that pull away from Netflix and away from all the other streaming services. What a fucking time to be alive with all these streaming services at war with each other and creating fucking awesome content. It's shit that you got to pay for them all, but
I mean, yeah, there's so many brilliant shows out there. We didn't even get a chance to talk about. I mean, some other shows that I'll be mentioning, upcoming ones. At the minute, you got Miss Marvel's just dropped on Disney Plus, which is absolutely delightful from the first episode. You got Danny Boyle's Sex Pistol show, Pistol, on Disney Plus. We've talked about Obi-Wan. We'll see how that finishes off in a few weeks' time. You got Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, like the best Star Trek show that's not Star Trek at the minute. That season 3, that's just dropped. Apple are killing it. They got a new season 2 of their comedy drama Physical out. So, and I think in a couple of weeks' time, when we'll be talking, I've even got to mention Barry, Bill Hader's Barry on Sky Atlantic and HBO. Again, that's been an absolutely amazing show this season. And of course, we've got David Simon's new cop show. David Simon, the creator of The Wire. We Own This City. So there is an absolute ton of brilliant content out there. So I think that rounds us off for the day. I think all I need to say is thank you to our guest again, Charlie Gallagher. He's starting to become a bit like the furniture around here. I mean, we joke, but it's always great to have an internationally published crime writer on the pod. And then we've also got David, who got stuck in a green screen the other day. You'll see the picture on our Twitter.
Been my pleasure. Thanks so much again.
No worries. See you next time.
bye-bye.